Now, this is your daddy's G.I. Joe. The G.I. Joe that came out when he was a kid and then grew up with him and now is awesome. Yo, Joe. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Today we are going to be talking about a movie, technically a movie that I love. It's something that started off as a set of shorts that they put together as 1 hour-ish long movie. Today we're going to be talking about G.I. Joe Resolute. What this is, it's for people like myself that grew up with G.I. Joe, where you were a kid and you played, G.I. Joe versus Cobra or Mars if you got that far with Destro's group. But these characters and this show is for the grown-up fan. So what you have here is a mature-rated G.I. Joe cartoon. And I must say that though there's little bits here and there, that's really not the fault of the cartoon itself. There's stuff in here. There's a few things I don't like. Again, not the fault of the cartoon. For the most part, I love this show. I will warn you, there will be some spoilers in this review. If you want my recommendation, track it down, especially if you are a fan of G.I. Joe, because it's awesome. You can get it for like $5-6 on Amazon right now. I had to buy another copy because I couldn't find mine. And I was like, oh, good. It only cost me about $5-6. But I highly recommend it. It's just one of those things where I will say this. If you don't know much about G.I. Joe, you're probably not going to get as much enjoyment out of it. It's still cool. It still has like an anime feel to it. So fans of anime might enjoy it. But I think those that are going to get the most enjoyment out of this are those that grew up with G.I. Joe and you already know the characters. Okay, the setup for this story is out in public, they find a dead body, a brutally murdered dead body, and it turns out to be Major Blood, who worked for Cobra. We find out later that he was a traitor. We don't know what he was going to do betraying Cobra, but they found out and they killed him. This also leads to the USS Flag being sabotaged. We find out later that it was Storm Shadow that did this. And then also, so thankfully, the Joes, they say, we designed it, so it didn't go under. Let's just say it doesn't last so long. It doesn't last the whole movie, but still it survives the first attack. So what they do is you have Cobra Commander decides, you know what, for a time I was acting cowardly was to my benefit, but he goes, I'm tired of this. I'm going to basically show you my dark side, and he just goes nuts on wanting to destroy the world. He gets his hand on this satellite weapon, where it's these satellites. I'm not going to try to explain the quote-unquote science of the whole thing, but he has these satellite things that are on like balloons that can just decimate cities. And he goes, and you probably won't believe me, he goes, if I get all the power, I can get all the money. He used to think money was power, but he goes, you know what? I'm going to show power, and then you're going to give me all the money. So without hesitation, he decimates a city, and so he's like, now you know I'm serious. You have 1 day to surrender everything to me, or I'm just gonna lay waste to the world. And he can do so. He's got these satellites all around the world, so it's up to G.I. Joe to stop him. They have to figure out how to take down the satellites, how to take down the signal that's being shot up to the satellites. And then also Snake Eyes goes after Storm Shadow because of what happened to the Flag. So we have all these different stories going on, and we get to run across many of the different characters we know. Not everybody gets to speak, and I do want to talk about the voice acting here in a minute, because it's really cool what they did. but you have Duke and Scarlet, which, by the way, knowing the show helps because they do comment on the Duke, Scarlet, and Snake Eyes kind of love triangle they have, and Scarlet makes her decision. And that, of course, you just kind of get, again, if you don't know these characters, you won't know really what's going on, but if you kind of know the history of them, you'll be like, oh, okay, they're referring to the love triangle thing because they kind of show Snake Eyes a little disappointed. Well, as much as someone can look disappointed behind a mask anyway. He kind of just hangs his head and moves on. So Duke and Scarlet go on a mission. Roadblock and Gung Ho go on a mission. And then Snake Eyes goes after Storm Shadow, and then there's some other stuff going on too. But they do their missions, and we meet some of the villains that we know throughout. Of course, we meet Storm Shadow, Zartan. We get to see the Baroness, and we get to see Destro. And then you get to see some of the vehicles and stuff that you know, but they don't really, a lot of them don't look like them. The Hiss tanks look pretty cool. Some of the stuff looks neat, and it looks like a redesign of some of the vehicles that the toys that we had toys of and stuff. But some of the stuff, it's just like, I didn't think the jets looked like Sky Strikers really, but I think they were supposed to be Sky Strikers. But anyway, the Joes complete their missions, and then they have to go after Cobra Commander, and that's kind of where they find, and we're going to talk about a town we mentioned before. If you've watched my other videos, you know exactly where I'm going with this, and I'll tell you something funny about it when we get there. So then they go after Cobra Commander at this town, and the whole thing kind of ends on we might get a sequel kind of cliffhanger. Even though the way it ends, it's just like, well, there could be more missions another day, even though they never got to make any more of these, which is unfortunate. Look, here's the cool thing about this. I love, first of all, the animation. It has a bit of an anime feel, and so if you like the art design of anime, well, you're going to like this. And it's definitely, the action is brutal. I'm not going to say it's blood all over the place, but man, plenty of people that, you know, there ain't no parachuting out of helicopters and jets and jumping out of tanks this time. No. Plenty of people get shot. Plenty of people get blown up, stabbed, whatever. Again, this is for the fan of G.I. Joe that grew up. I liked the characters and liked what they did with the characters. While they did only focus on a certain amount, it kind of reminded me of the Devil's Due comics when they did G.I. Joe, where, yeah, the stories were only focusing on so many Joes, but in the background you would see other Joes, because you would see other Joes on missions and stuff, even though they didn't speak, you knew who they were. It'd be like, oh, there's Shipwreck, or whatever, you know, you'd be like, oh, there's that guy, there's Spirit Iron Knife, there's whoever. It was kind of cool because it's like, you know, these characters, and even though they're not really a big part of the story, they're there, and you know they're Joes, and they're there, and they're helping. So I like that. I loved how they did that. They just focused on a certain amount, voiced a certain amount, and then we got the same thing with villains, where granted we didn't see a lot of more, the main villains that you saw, other than Major Blood, who was already dead when we saw him. The other main villains we saw, they all got to speak. Again, we got Storm Shadow, Zartan, Baroness, Destro, and Cobra Commander. And yeah, there was, they called them Alley Vipers. They looked more like the regular Cobra soldiers than Alley Vipers, but, you know, they called them Alley Vipers, and that's fine. And we got to see some blue and red ones of those. I was hoping to see some more, like, Crimson Guard, or maybe even Zomax and Zaymot, or Tomax and Zaymot, you know, things like that. The twins, or some of Zartan's, you know, his brother and sister. You know, it would have been nice to see more of them, but there was only so much they could fit into these shorts. And again, these were like 10-minute shorts or something like that, which ended up just coming together to be like an hour-ish. But what was cool about the voice cast was there's only four voice actors doing all the different voices. You got Steve Bloom, Greg Griffin did all the women, Eric Bauza, and Charlie Adler. They all did the voices for all the different characters, and they all took on major roles. Greg Griffin especially, The only real big character change they made was Dial Tone. Dial Tone was a woman in this, which, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I like Dial Tone in the cartoons, but Dial Tone, the only things I can really remember about him is he liked phones, his mustache, his beret, and his funny looking backpack whenever I had the toy. So, I mean, if, they changed that to a woman, so what? Not a big deal. It didn't really change the character. She was still the same, techie type character that the male Dial Tone was, so not a big deal. But I like that these 4 voice actors did all the voices. Some of them you can tell, okay, it's a little too similar. I mean Duke, sounds like Steve Bloom, sounds just like Wolverine. It's really recognizable, but still it's cool. I like that they changed some of them enough that it really worked. One of the voice performances I really liked was of Cobra Commander. Um, Cobra Commander, of course, usually, again, was cowardly and would run and stuff like that. But this time, he was just real menacing and dark. And he just kind of was... It was like we were seeing the true Cobra Commander. So that was kind of cool. I liked the characters they chose to have bigger parts. They took a lot of the main ones. You had, your Roadblock, your Gung Ho, Flint, Duke, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and then Tunnel Rat got a piece of the action, and I always liked that character, even though the cartoons didn't really do a lot with him. But he was a big part of or I wouldn't say a big part, but he had a main part in the group of main characters in G.I. Joe the movie that we talked about not too long ago, the animated one. But yeah, I really dig this cartoon. And one thing I talked about, the town we've talked about, when they go after Cobra Commander, they go to Springfield. But this time they say, even though they call it Springfield, USA, kind of like what The Simpsons does and things like that, Springfield, USA here, they say it's in the Midwest. So I'm just like, yes, it's our Springfield, even though it's hard to say it's our Springfield when you can see some mountains in the background. But it was just kind of funny. I was just like, yeah, it's our Springfield. Like I said, when I was growing up, it's just like, is it our Springfield? Is Cobra in Springfield? I remember there was a G.I. Joe convention that they brought to Springfield, Illinois, because it was called Springfield. And I wish I could have gone to that. I never got a chance to. I think I was working that weekend or something. So yeah, look, all in all, if you can get your hands on this, it's worth watching if you're a G.I. Joe fan. Again, I wish that we would have gotten like a series of this, or even a longer movie that could have fleshed out some more of the characters. Again, it's hard to recommend this if you don't already know the characters that are in it, because not knowing, you're just going to be kind of like, why are they commenting on their love life? Why is Cobra Commander acting this way? They do give you a little bit of backstory on, they do cover the Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, death of the Hardmaster stuff. While they do, like Retaliation, they do have Zartan as the murderer of the Hardmaster. Unlike Retaliation, which Storm Shadow didn't have anything to do with it, and this one, Storm Shadow's like, I had everything to do with it. I had Cobra do it. And it was Zartan's first mission for Cobra. And I did like seeing Zartan this, because they're like, why don't you like to make money. Why don't you just live to fight another day? We're going to destroy this place. He's like, nah, I like killing better. So they kind of evolve his character just a little bit from the way he was in the cartoon, where he embraces more of his violent side. But yeah, man, look, G.I. Joe, Resolute. Again, if you enjoyed G.I. Joe as a kid, or if you enjoyed the G.I. Joe comics and stuff like that, this is a very, very fun watch for you. I highly recommend it. I enjoyed so much watching it again. The minor problems I have with it, such as we keep seeing the where it says, like, this is the USS Flag. It's in a classified location. The only reason they use the locator so much is because, again, these were bits and pieces that they put together. Not just, it wasn't intended to be one full show. It was intended to be shown in like 10 or 11 or whatever episodes. So that gets a little on your nerves, but it's like, since you know what it's for, there's really nothing. I mean, they could have gone in and taken those out, I guess, but, it didn't really bother me that much. I don't have many other problems with this. It moves a little too fast, but again, it was short episodes crammed together. The ending, I don't like that it got left open and we got nothing else after it. I thought the last episode moved a little too fast. Granted, it was like 10 minutes or whatever, but by the time they get to Cobra Commander, that scene doesn't last very long. I do like how it ends, because Duke gets to one-up Cobra Commander, even though Cobra Commander has the advantage. At first, so that was kind of neat. But it ends on an open note. Plenty of villains survive. There is an after credit scene, which it doesn't really prove someone is still alive, but let's just say when you watch this person buried, there's two of something and in the ground. But when they show the grave site, there's only one thing sticking out of the ground. So you wonder, are they still alive? But anyway, definitely check out G.I. Joe Resolute if you're a fan of G.I. Joe. I love this. I love watching it again. I break it out every now and then. It's just a lot of fun. It's definitely your dad's G.I. Joe, which when I say it's your dad's G.I. Joe, it's for you that grew up with G.I. Joe. Anyway, check it out. It's awesome. Yo, Joe.